Yellow people, happy Sunday. Okay, so normally when I do these coffee time videos with you guys, I'm usually talking about something that gets me really, really heated and I get really excited about it and I kind of just talk really, really fast. I'm probably still going to talk fast. It's just something that I do. I'm working on that. But it's going to be a little different today because there was a conversation that I had a couple of days ago with a few of my siblings. It just kind of stayed on the brain. Last year, I kind of took this deep dive and did a whole rabbit hole deep dive, I should say, and was even considering writing an op ed on it. I actually did write an op ed, I just never posted it. And it was talking about the problems that I have with debt being utilized as something to grow wealth. It's not that that's not true. It's not that that's never happened in the history of our country. It has happened, but the more research I did, I came to realize that the majority of people who play the money game that way lose. And I just, after having this conversation with my some of my older siblings, where they kept saying that there is such a thing known as good debt. And I just immediately, like, just instinctively said, there is no such thing as good debt. Like, no, of course there is. There's good debt and then there's bad debt. No, no, no. There is justifiable and then there's bad, right? There is no such thing as good debt. If it were such a good thing, people would stay in it. Okay. That's just my whole premise when it comes to debt, you guys. Like, so I work as a financial professional. I've worked as a budget specialist. I've had clients and I've sat down with them and I've reviewed their numbers. I showed them how they could save money, where they should be focusing on necessities versus the desires. When we talk about what the necessities are and we get to transportation and they talk about the car, I ask, well, is this a car that you absolutely need? So, well, I do need a car. Like, I'm not saying you don't need a car. I'm just saying, is there a car that's out there that you could afford? Because I'm sorry, but a $20,000 car where you're making $300 payments, couldn't you find a car that was like $5,000 to $10,000? Because if that were the case, you would have probably you would own it by now. You would own it by now. Can you go trade this thing in for something cheaper? Like, what actions can you take to minimize how much money is going outside of your pocket, outside of your futures, outside of your home? Like, don't sell your future, don't sell your freedom to these debt programs. And this is part of the problem that I have, and it's one of the things that I started talking about with my clients, and when people would hire me as a budget specialist, I would sit down with them and I would tell them, no, there is no such thing as good debt. Okay, I don't care who's out here trying to tell you that you could use debt to grow wealth. The majority of the people, this is what I learned from doing my deep dive, you guys. The majority of the people who try to play the money game, leveraging debt to grow wealth, lose. Now, the majority of the people who play the money game following the biblical financial principles win. The majority of the people who play the game, playing it reasonable, safer, not so much there is no risk, but safer than leveraging debt, are more likely to be successful. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't think yourself the exceptional and think that you're going to be the person who could leverage debt to become successful. Like, if you want to be that person, go on, do it. You're adults. This is America. Make your own choices. But when I see the numbers and I'm looking at how this affects Black Americans, how this affects women, how this affects young Americans, I mean, this is a problem, okay? These companies are sinister. I look at the auto loan payments, look at the car payment epidemic, pandemic. These are some of the videos that come across my YouTube feed, my TikTok feed, and people are trying to figure out, like, why is this even happening? And we just want to blame the companies, which, don't get me wrong, I think are predatory, I think are problematic. But there's a huge issue with the consumer, that we are under the impression that because we have to keep up with the Joneses, that we have to go out here and spend all this money on cars we can't afford, on lifestyles that we can't afford. Try living below your means. Try not spending so much money on things that, first of all, money that's not even yours, and things that you can't afford. Oh, I can afford the product. I can afford the product. No, you can afford the debt. I can't afford the car, but I can afford the debt associated with the car. I can't afford the $60,000 Nissan, but I can afford that $590 monthly payment. That was one of the videos I saw that came across my TikTok feed. Beautiful young Black girl. I don't know how she might have been, like, in her early 20s. Okay, she's spending $590. Okay, zero money down, $590 payment every month for guess how many years to own this car, you guys? 38 years. So you're going to spend over $150,000 for a car that ranges anywhere between $50,000 to $60,000. Girl, that is a college degree. That is a down payment to your house. Okay, that is a mortgage. That is your house. That is your house. That is your life insurance policy. That is your mutual fund. That is your security. That is a business you could have built to buy the car you wanted. I mean, so many opportunities. She hasn't done it yet because 38 years haven't passed. But I'm looking at this like, first of all, why is this even allowed? Why are these auto loan companies even able to give somebody that kind of a amount of time to own this damn car? On average, you have 8 to 10 years. How was this able to reach 38 years? These companies don't make money from selling the car. They make money from selling the debt. They make more from the debt than they do from selling the actual product. This is crazy. It's so bad, you guys, that even Congress had a hearing with the damn credit card companies. But I heard on the phone with talking to my siblings that there is such a good thing, that there is such a thing known as good debt. Sorry, the scripture says the borrower is slave to the lender. Last I checked, that's not a good thing. Okay? So in the course that I've created where I'm talking to people, I haven't started teaching just yet, but I would say this to my clients. There is no such thing as good debt. I'm trying to change the language because as long as people are under the impression that there is such a thing, then they're going to go for it. And what I want people to understand is there is no such thing as good debt. I will give you justifiable. What is justifiable here? The mortgage. When you go into purchasing a home, the mortgage, that's a justifiable debt. I can give you that. The car you absolutely need. So you don't absolutely need a $40,000 car. You absolutely need the car you can afford, which might be $5,000, possibly $10,000, where you put down a quarter to at least half of the cost. So now you can own this thing in a year to 2 years. That's the idea. Two rules I have for borrowing, people. Number one, never borrow more than you can afford to pay back. That's the first rule. Second, never, okay, never take on a number that you can't be out of in 2 years max. So if I can't be out of this debt in 2 years, I don't want it. I don't want it. If you can't be out in 2 years, don't do it. Never take on more than you can afford to pay back, and never take on a number that you can't be out of in 2 years. If you can take on these ideas, then you can understand how you can utilize debt that is justifiable, where it doesn't have to be at such a major expense to your futures. Okay. I'm trying to change language out here because, frankly, I don't think there is any such good thing known as debt. I don't think there is such thing. I don't. Okay. The Lord said the borrower is slave to the lender, and I'm not debating with the big man upstairs. Jesus said it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's like, listen, it's not. No, he didn't say it's a sin to engage in debt. It's not a sin. It's not a crime. It's not morally corrupt. Okay? At least not on the consumer's end, I would say. But that doesn't mean that it's a good thing. Okay? It is not. It is not. It can be, however, justifiable. And so after having that conversation, it turned into like a 5-10 minute debate, my trying to convince them the word good and the word justifiable are two different words, have two different meanings, okay? Just because something is justifiable does not necessarily make it a good thing. It might make it necessary, right? Like the car you can afford, even though it's the debt, right? The $5,000, $10,000 car. I still can't afford the product, but I can afford the debt and get out of it in an expedient amount of time. That's the idea, right? That even if I am going to take it on, I'll be out of it in a certain amount of time. Like I'm somebody who went through Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University. I believe in the 7 baby steps, right? Where I might disagree with Dave Ramsey is that sometimes a debt might be necessary, sometimes a debt is justifiable. And this is where I might disagree with Dave Ramsey, but majority of the time, no, I agree with him. I agree with everything he says. 99% of the time, I agree. It just comes down to what is a justifiable debt. If the person needs the car, then they have to get the car. I would just rather you got a car that you could own in a year, 2 years max. David, 2 years is too long. Stop telling people that this thing is a good thing. It is not. It is a beast. It is a monster that wants to take away your futures. And people are willing to do this. We can sit here, we can point the finger at Visa and MasterCard and all of these different debt products. We can sit here and be mad at the companies, but there was something about us, the American consumer. There's something about us that says, I gotta have the newest car. I gotta have the newest cell phone. I'm willing to spend $2,000 on a damn phone when we're giving out free phones to the poor and the homeless. Okay, we're giving free phones to illegals, to the homeless. Okay, free phones, free Wi-Fi, but you're gonna go out here and spend $2,000 on a phone? That's justifiable to you? No, that's not good. And the thing is, you're not even spending $2,000. You're doing monthly payments because you can't afford the $2,000 phone. No, you can afford that $90 monthly payment, which you won't even own the phone for a little over 2 years. This is ridiculous because the interest rates are so damn high. Do you pay attention to the interest rates? These companies are so damn predatory. They deliberately promote in the poorest areas of the United States. It's predatory what they're doing. They are deliberately trying to put us in debt, and we are out here justifying as if these are good things, right? We have to determine what is justifiable and what isn't. Okay? There is no such thing as good debt. There is justifiable. Now, what is justifiable, right? That $1,200 cell phone, that's not justifiable. That $40,000 car, that's not justifiable. Okay, the mortgage, it's justifiable. The $5,000 to $10,000 car that you have to put a monthly payment on to own it in 2 years, that's justifiable. I'll even go so far to say education if we're talking like trade, right? You need the loan so that way you can go study to become an iron worker, an electrician, someone who works in coding, mechanics, right? Like I will give you that, right? That is justifiable. But if it's not justifiable, then it's not something that we should be engaging in. Going into debt so you can buy clothes off of Shein, not a good thing. Okay. We need to do better because when I did my research, you guys, and I actually might put out my op-ed. You guys get in the comments and let me know if you think I should put out the op-ed because I've been sitting on this thing for like months now. It's been written and I have not posted it. I was so focused on the election and the politics that I was just not talking about the financial stuff. And I do want to get back into that because you guys, I look at what's happening even in the state that I'm in, and you know how I feel about my governor, Josh Shapiro. I don't think he's addressing any of those problems, right? The insurance commissioner in my state is not doing his part to make sure that people are made aware on how these investment opportunities, how insurance works, what's available, what we're doing about increasing the pockets of the American people or the Pennsylvania citizens, and just sharing the information. I don't think we're doing that. And so you get in the comments, let me know what you think if I should put out that op-ed because I had written it and it's just not posted. I haven't posted it yet. You guys, I've been sitting on this op-ed for like months and I haven't posted it. And I feel like I should. So I didn't want to take this video to, talk about the politics and what's going on. I really wanted to focus on the financial stuff because I saw that video in my YouTube feed of that young girl having to go spend $590 for 38 years. For 38 years. And it was just astounding to me that that was even allowed, that the institutions could put someone in that kind of debt for that amount of time, that there are no restrictions on the institutions or the consumer, that we're not talking about those things, and that needs to be addressed. It's a problem. It's a car pandemic, a car payment pandemic. That's the headline that I'm seeing. And no one wants to address this in a way that is actually coming from the Christian perspective, and I really think that that is necessary. It's just it's kind of insane. And I had this conversation with my siblings and she's like, "No, if it's justifiable then it must be good." No. No, no, no. There is a way to engage with debt that you can say is justifiable. But the majority of people who play the game leveraging debt to grow wealth lose. And sorry, I'm not going to be the person like, and it's about being the average, right? Like I'm okay with being the average person. I don't think it's a problem. The average in America is exceptional to the rest of the world. So you could be the average American who doesn't leverage debt to grow your wealth and you'll be just fine. You'll be okay, right? You just have to believe that and work towards that because I tell you, it's kind of ridiculous to me. $590 for the next 38 years? Come on. That's ridiculous. And you guys know it's ridiculous. There's no such thing as good debt. The borrower is slave to the lender. I just had to say that because, again, had this conversation a few days ago and it was just stuck on the brain. Like, I'm trying to change language here. Stop saying it's good. It's not. It's not. It's just not. And you guys can get in the comments and let me know if you agree with that, disagree with that. Change the language. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay. It's not good. It's justifiable. Borrower is slave to the lender. The Lord said it. I ain't trying to argue with him. Okay. Like, stop debating the big guy upstairs. Like, I'm not debating him. He says it's not a good thing. Now, not a crime, not a sin, not morally corrupt. It's none of those things. Okay. So you can go ahead and go with this, right? But being in debt like that, come on, it'll have you broke. And the Lord does not want you dying broke. You don't have to die broke. You can build legacy. You can do all that. I'm over the phrase generational wealth because it's been so overused. There's a couple of things, a couple of words and phrases I'm kind of over. We'll talk about that another time. But, there's a way to do this that doesn't have you engaging with debt where you think it's going to work and then it doesn't. Okay. Some things are justifiable. You might talk about that moving forward. I might just do that. I might just do an episode talking about what's justifiable and what's not. I do have a class getting ready to come out, you guys. I've developed an entire course to talk to people about what is justifiable, what isn't, trying to change the language, teaching people about how they can better with their money from small ways to bigger ways. I'm a budget specialist, a financial professional. I got into this because I was so bad with money. I wanted to teach people how to not be as bad as I was, right? So now I'm being better with my money. I'm trying to educate other people how to be better with their money. And I'm looking at my state to see what they're doing. They're not doing much. I can't stand my governor. He really irritates the crap out of me. They're just not doing the job. They're just not doing the job. And somebody got to get out here and say it, because too many people are saying good debt is a thing, and it's pissing me off. Not pissing me off. It's just irking me. It's irking me. So you guys get in the comments. Let me know what you think about this. I'm going to go heat up my coffee because I've been talking for a minute. But let me know. And happy Sunday, you guys. Happy Sunday. The Lord is amazing. God bless you all. God bless America. Love you. Kepla.